Savvy and welcome to SEO Savvy. Today we're gonna talk about XML sitemaps. How do you create a perfect XML sitemap from a technical SEO point of view? In this video, you will find out. What exactly is a sitemap? An XML sitemap is a text file including a list of pages on your site that you prefer for Google and other search engines to index. You can think of them like digital maps that help search engines discover important content on your site. They also inform search engines about what pages you think are important, how often these pages are changed, and when they were last updated. All of this helps search engines crawl your site more efficiently. I mean, when a new page is added or an old one is removed, these kind of changes can directly be fed to the search engines via the sitemaps. And this whole thing actually speeds up the process of indexing your pages. Sitemaps are especially helpful if your site has dynamic content. We're gonna talk about this in a moment. So, how do you decide if you need a sitemap or not? It depends. I'm kidding. Well, Google's documentation says that sitemaps are especially helpful for really large websites. What do we mean by really large websites? If your site has more than 500 pages. For a really small and simple website, I would say it's a judgment call to have a sitemap or not. If you think that you have a very decent and clear link structure, and maybe you can set up some custom segments in Google Analytics to track different sections of your site, that can work for you. You can say that, okay, maybe I don't need a sitemap. But even in that case, I personally believe every single website wants Google and other search engines to be able to easily find the most important content on the site. If you create a sitemap and submit it in your Google Search Console account, you can easily get some feedback about the number of indexed pages on your site. For example, if there are any pages that are not indexed, you will easily know about it and you can immediately take action and you can find out why this is happening. When it comes to large websites, I would say it's really crucial to have a sitemap. Imagine you have an e-commerce site with a few million pages. I think we can all agree that internal linking, actually keeping control of internal linking to those few million pages is very hard. With a sitemap, you can show the way to Google actually where to find those important and valuable content on your site. Plus, you can let Google know about which pages are the recently updated ones, so it will focus on the fresh content on your site. On top of that, if your website is brand new, for example, and there are not many links pointing to your site, then a sitemap would also be very helpful to show the way to Google. So, what can go wrong if you don't have a sitemap or you don't properly format it? I'll give you a very interesting example. 16% of Medium posts cannot be found on Google. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of articles. We actually have an article going deep into why Medium lost half of its visibility at the end of 2019. If you would like to read it, the link is in the description. What I remember from that article is that Medium actually had a sitemap, but there were a lot of problems with it. There were a lot of outdated or broken pieces in their sitemaps. So my point is, if you have a very large website like Medium, then you need to properly format your sitemap. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with a bunch of URLs that are actually important and valuable, but they are not indexed. That being said, let's move forward with what goes into the sitemap. Okay, first of all, you need to decide which pages are important to you as a website owner, which pages are valuable for your users. Then you need to determine on the canonical version of each page. So basically, you need to list only canonical URLs, which are obviously indexable pages, and they return 200 status code. So this means you should exclude any kind of redirects like 301 or 302, doesn't matter, or 404 pages and pages with thin or duplicate content. So you don't want to submit pages that are of low quality or that have thin content. You want to submit pages that have high quality and more likely to bring organic traffic to your site. One common mistake that many people do is including all the indexable pages in the sitemap. Well, being indexable is not the only condition. Your pages should have quality content that is valuable to users. You can add different media types to your sitemaps like videos or images. In a perfect scenario, you would have a separate sitemap for example, for your images. It's also a great way to tell Google where to find your images and discover them. For example, if your site reaches some images with some JavaScript code, a sitemap would be helpful. So basically, every website would definitely benefit from having a sitemap. It doesn't hurt your SEO efforts, it doesn't pose any risks, it just gives you benefits. So why not use them? Okay, so now it's clear that there are only benefits of having a sitemap, and the ultimate question is how to create a sitemap and let Google know about it. There are actually a few ways around it. For example, if you use a CMS, many of them automatically generate sitemaps for you. Or you can choose many of the third-party tools out there to create a sitemap for yourself. For example, Screaming Frog or XML-sitemaps.com. You may also choose to create your sitemap manually. This actually gives you the chance to customize it, but I'd recommend it for very small websites, because if you have a very large website with thousands of URLs, it would be very time-consuming and also very hard to control. I believe the key here is to decide what kind of sitemaps you need for your site. Do you need a static sitemap or a dynamic one? Let's talk about this a little bit. Static sitemaps are manually edited. For example, if a page is added or removed to the sitemap should be also edited manually. This works best for you if your site has static content. What I mean is if your content doesn't change very often. But you should be careful that things can get out of control easily with static sitemaps. For example, if you forget to update your sitemap and your website simultaneously, you may end up with a bunch of URLs that are actually valuable but not listed in your sitemap. Dynamic sitemaps, on the other hand, automatically update when you add or remove a page from your site. And this is a better solution if your site has dynamic content, like an e-commerce site, adding new products all the time, or maybe a news website. You can create a dynamic sitemap for yourself using many plugins out there. They are always up to date and you don't need to worry about any technical details. Once you create your sitemap, now it's time to let Google know about it. And I'm telling you, this is the easiest part of the whole process. All you need to do is go to your Google Search Console account and submit it over there. So, log into your Search Console account, go to Index Sitemaps in the sidebar, enter your sitemaps URL into this field, and press Submit. That's it, you're all set to go. Now Google will start crawling and indexing all the links listed in your sitemap. And also it will inform you if there are any issues or errors that you need to fix. I should remind you that Google's recommendation is to place your sitemap in the root directory so that it can affect all the files. And also don't forget to reference it in your robots.txt file. And that's it about XML sitemaps in a nutshell. They help Google find the most important content on your site and also make the indexing of fresh content much faster. It's really one of the key technical SEO areas, so make sure you properly format and submit your sitemap to make the best out of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If there's any other topic that you're struggling with, like rendering SEO, JavaScript SEO, hit me up. We have a great R&D team and super smart SEOs here at Onely, so all topics go. Thank you so much and make sure to subscribe to our channel. See you next time.